Did AEW really just eliminate Mercedes Moné in the first round of the women's tag team title tournament? You heard that right. One of the biggest stars in the company, a global name, and ideally, one of the most protected wrestlers in the industry, was knocked out before the semifinals even began. Fans couldn't believe it. The crowd was stunned. Social media exploded. And everyone was left asking the same thing. What in the world was Tony Khan thinking? But here's the thing, this wasn't a mistake, and it definitely wasn't an accident. AEW knew exactly what they were doing. This was a calculated move. A risky one, sure, but a necessary one. And once you understand why, you'll see that AEW might have just pulled off one of the smartest booking decisions in months. Let's rewind for a second. This week's episode of Dynamite was supposed to be another exciting step in AEW's brand new Women's Tag Team Championship tournament. On paper, it looked like a done deal. The powerhouse team of Mercedes Moné, the reigning TBS champion, teaming up with the ROH Women's Champion Athena, two dominant champions, both with gold around their waists, facing a newly formed team of Willow Nightingale and Harley Cameron, the duo calling themselves the Babes of Wrath. Every fan watching figured they knew how this match was going to go. Mercedes and Athena would crush them, move on to the semifinals, and we'd all start debating which team could possibly stop them from becoming the inaugural tag champs. But that's not what happened at all, because AEW flipped the script in a way no one expected. The Babes of Wrath didn't just survive, they won, clean, convincingly, and it wasn't a fluke. It wasn't a distraction roll-up or a referee botch. It was a real, story-driven decision with long-term purpose behind it. But before we get into that, let's talk about what actually went down in that ring. The match itself started with the kind of energy you'd expect. When two champions walk in like heavy favorites, Mercedes and Athena were dominant from the bell, controlling the pace, cutting the ring in half, doing everything right. The Babes of Wrath looked overwhelmed at first. Harley Cameron tried to use her speed. Willow tried to counter with power. But every time they gained a little momentum, Mercedes or Athena shut it down. You could almost hear the fans thinking, yeah, this is going to be a short one. But then, as AEW often does, the match took a chaotic turn that changed everything. Late in the match, all four women were brawling in the ring. The referee had lost control. Out of nowhere, Athena's protege, Billy Starks, rushed down to ringside trying to give her mentor an advantage. You could feel it building the setup for the heels to steal a win. But before Billy could even get involved, Chris Statlander stormed down the ramp and leveled her with a massive clothesline. The arena erupted. Statlander wasn't even supposed to be there, and suddenly the entire match dynamic shifted. In that split second of confusion, Athena turned to check on her student, giving Willow Nightingale the perfect opening. Willow scooped Athena up and planted her with a thunderous power. Mercedes jumped on the apron, ready to break it up. But Harley Cameron flew in with her finisher and covered Athena for the 1, 2, 3. The crowd gasped. Mercedes Moné stood there in disbelief, frozen, watching her partner get pinned. The Babes of Wrath celebrated their shocking victory, while the supposed super team of champions was eliminated in round 1. The reaction online was immediate disbelief, outrage, confusion. How could AEW book one of their biggest stars to lose so early? Was this punishment? Was there backstage heat? Fans started speculating about everything from contract disputes to politics. But the real reason, it's actually much simpler and smarter than people realize. AEW is trying to build an entirely new division. The women's tag team titles are meant to stand on their own, not just as another extension of the singles divisions. If Mercedes Moné and Athena, two established singles champions, had just steamrolled everyone, the entire division would have felt like an afterthought. You can't build new stars if your champions are already holding half the gold in the company. So, AEW made the tough call. They sacrificed a dream team to create legitimacy. By having the Babes of Wrath defeat two of the best wrestlers in the company, AEW instantly gave them credibility. Fans now have a reason to care about this tournament because it's unpredictable. Anyone can win. And notice how AEW protected Mercedes Moné in the process. She wasn't pinned. She didn't take the fall. Athena did. That subtle choice keeps Moné strong while still allowing the upset to happen. It's one of the oldest tricks in wrestling storytelling. Protect your top draw while elevating new talent. Now, Mercedes can continue her dominant singles run without being dragged into a tag division that, frankly, doesn't need her long-term presence to succeed. But there's another layer to this. Mercedes Moné's schedule right now is absolutely packed. She's already the TBS champion. She's rumored to be facing Chris Statlander for the Women's World Championship at Full Gear. She's appearing in multiple promotions, winning titles around the world. She's carrying gold everywhere she goes. At some point, that kind of overexposure starts to hurt both the performer and the company. Imagine if she had also become one half of the inaugural tag team champions. She'd be stretched way too thin. AEW would end up with one star holding 3 different belts, appearing in overlapping storylines and dominating multiple divisions. It might sound exciting for a short while, but in the long run, it clogs up the entire women's roster. Other stories can't breathe. Other wrestlers can't shine. and the new division would immediately feel like a side project revolving around one person. That's the opposite of what AEW wants. So when you think about it, this decision wasn't a burial. It was strategy. It was AEW protecting the health of its divisions. It was them saying, we're not going to repeat the mistakes other companies made by putting all the gold on one person. They're building long-term balance, and that's not something wrestling fans are used to seeing anymore. But the real beauty of this booking is how it sets up the next phase of AEW's women's tag division. With Mercedes and Athena out of the picture, the Babes of Wrath move forward to face Julia Hart and Sky Blue in the semi-finals. Two teams that could realistically go all the way. Suddenly there's suspense again. Nobody knows who's winning. You've got two young, hungry teams with believable paths to the finals. And that unpredictability is what makes tournaments exciting. AEW just created that out of thin air. Think about how this changes the perception of Willow, Nightingale, and Harley Cameron too. A week ago, they were an untested duo thrown together for the tournament. Now, they've got one of the biggest upsets in Dynamite history on their record. That's instant credibility. Fans will remember this win every time they step into the ring. It's a classic AEW move. Use one big name to make two new ones. Short-term shock, long-term payoff. Now let's talk about Mercedes Moné herself, because this loss actually plays perfectly into her larger story arc. Right now, she's in an interesting position. She's already a champion. She's been booked as unstoppable since arriving in AEW, and fans have been waiting for her to take that next step toward the world title. By losing here in a match she didn't get pinned in AEW keeps her out of a division that would distract from her real goal. And what's that goal? The Women's World Championship. The upcoming showdown with Chris Statlander is where AEW wants the spotlight, not in the tag team bracket. And here's the bold prediction: Mercedes Moné that world title at Full Gear either. At least, not yet. Because as much as fans want to see it, AEW needs to build to that moment properly. If Moné wins now, she'd be holding two AEW titles simultaneously, plus defending belts from other promotions. It would be overkill. AEW knows it. Tony Khan knows it. Instead, what we're probably seeing is a slow burn. Moné will take a few high-profile losses that don't hurt her credibility, setting up a redemption arc that peaks 6 months from now. That's when she'll get her big title win. And when she does, it'll feel earned. Meanwhile, her loss here opens the door for other women to rise. Willow gets momentum. Harley Cameron gets visibility. Even Athena benefits because she can pivot into her own story, maybe tension with Moné after the loss. Maybe something with AEW just created multiple branching storylines with one match. That's efficient booking, and it's smart television. So let's not look at this as a failure. Let's look at it as an investment. AEW made a choice that protects Mercedes Moné, strengthens the women's division, and gives new life to a tag team scene that desperately needed it. It's a win-win across the board. The fans get fresh matchups, the company gets new stars, and Moné stays relevant without being overexposed. And honestly, if we're being real, this kind of storytelling is what makes AEW stand out. They don't always book for the quick pop. Sometimes they book for the 6-month payoff. They'll take the short-term backlash on social media if it means a bigger story down the line. That's what this was: long-term storytelling disguised as an upset.